So I was scrolling through Reddit the other day, and I saw this post that it stuck with me. This person said they'd been making $75,000 a year for the past 6 years. They'd gotten 3 raises during that time, and somehow they had less money in their bank account than when they started. And the comments? Hundreds of people saying, "Wait, are you me?" Look, if you've ever felt like you're making decent money but have absolutely nothing to show for it, if you've ever wondered why your financially successful friend who makes the same amount as you seems to be thriving while you're living paycheck to paycheck, this video is going to completely change how you think about building wealth. My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time thinking about why smart people stay broke. If you're someone who feels like you're doing everything right with your money, but still can't seem to get ahead, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Here's the thing. Most personal finance advice is either completely obvious or totally unrealistic. Just save more. Cool, thanks. Stop buying coffee. Right, because my $4 latte is why I can't afford a house. The real rules that build wealth, they're quieter, they're less flashy. And honestly, most people never figure them out because nobody's actually teaching this stuff. Today, I'm breaking down 7 personal finance rules that don't get talked about enough, but that quietly separate people who build wealth from people who just don't. And I'm going to show you the actual math behind why these work. Rule number 1. The first $100,000 is mathematically different from every other dollar you save after it. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's business partner, said this, and most people think it's just some motivational thing, but there's actual math behind why this is true. Here's what most people don't realize. Compound interest doesn't really start working until you have a meaningful base of money for it to work on. Let me show you what I mean. If you have $10,000 invested and it grows 10% in a year, you made $1,000. Okay, cool, that's nice, but it's not life-changing. You know what $1,000 feels like? It feels like one unexpected car repair. But if you have $100,000 invested and it grows 10%, you made $10,000. That's real money. That's a material amount that compounds the following year. Now here's where it gets really interesting. According to research from Vanguard, the average person takes about 8 to 12 years to save their first $100,000. But getting from $100,000 to $200,000, that takes about 4 to 6 years. And from $200,000 to $300,000, even less. Why? Because once you have $100,000 working for you, compound interest becomes a second income source. At a 10% return, your money is making $10,000 a year without you doing anything. That's like having a part-time job that you never have to show up for. So the actionable step here is this. If you're in your 20s or early 30s and you haven't hit $100,000 in invested assets yet, that needs to be your singular obsession. I'm not saying don't live your life, but understand that every dollar you save before you hit that milestone is worth more than every dollar after, because it's buying you time for compound interest to do its thing. And look, I know $100,000 sounds impossible if you're starting from zero, but if you can save $1,500 a month and invest it at an average 8% return, you'll hit $100,000 in about 5 years. Is it easy? No, but it's the most important financial goal you'll ever achieve.
Rule number 2. Anti-lifestyle creep is more powerful than budgeting. All right, here's something that nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to understand. Budgeting doesn't work for most people. Now, you might be thinking, wait, what? Isn't budgeting like the foundation of personal finance? And yeah, in theory, but study after study shows that about 80% of people who start a budget quit within the first month. It's like going to the gym. Everyone knows they should do it, but most people don't stick with it. Here's what actually works. Anti-lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is when your spending increases at the same rate as your income. You get a $10,000 raise, and suddenly you're spending $10,000 more per year. Nicer apartment, nicer car, more dinners out. And here's the insidious part. It doesn't even feel like you're being reckless. It feels reasonable. You worked hard for that raise, right? You deserve it. But here's the math that'll blow your mind. Let's say you're 28 years old. you make $60,000 a year and you get a $5,000 raise. Most people increase their spending by $5,000. But what if you didn't? What if you just kept living the exact same lifestyle and invested that $5,000? If you invest an extra $5,000 per year from age 28 to 65, 37 years, at an 8% average return, that's an additional $931,000 at retirement from one raise, one decision to not upgrade your life. Now, do this every time you get a raise for your entire career, and you're talking about millions of dollars in additional wealth. This is how people who make $80,000 retire wealthier than people who make $150,000. The rule is simple. Every time your income goes up, your savings rate should go up, but your lifestyle should stay flat for at least a year. If you get a $10,000 raise, save $7,000 of it, and maybe let yourself spend $3,000 on something that genuinely improves your quality of life. And here's the thing, this doesn't mean you can never improve your lifestyle. It just means you do it slowly and intentionally, not automatically. Rule number 3. The 72-hour rule eliminates 80% of wasteful spending. Okay, let's talk about impulse purchases, because this is where most people are bleeding money without even realizing it. There's this study from the Journal of Consumer Research that found that 40 to 80% of all purchases are impulse buys. And I'm not just talking about candy bars at the checkout line. I'm talking about $200 shoes, $1,500 designer bags, $3,000 vacations that you book at 11 p.m. after a stressful week. Here's the psychological thing happening. Marketers have figured out that the gap between wanting something and buying something is where they lose sales. So everything in modern consumer culture is designed to shrink that gap. One-click ordering, only 2 left in stock, free returns, buy now, pay later. It's all engineered to stop you from thinking. So, here's the rule. Before you buy anything over $100, wait 72 hours. That's it. That's the whole rule. Add it to your cart, walk away, wait 3 days. Then, if you still want it, buy it. Now, you might be thinking, Zach, that sounds annoying. And yeah, it is. That's the point. Because here's what happens when you wait 72 hours. About 70% of the time, you realize you don't actually want the thing. The desire was real in the moment, but it wasn't durable. It was based on emotion or boredom or some Instagram ad that made you feel like your life was incomplete without a $300 blender. Let me give you a real example. Let's say you make 5 impulse purchases a month at an average of $150 each. That's $750 a month or $9,000 a year. If you implemented the 72-hour rule and it eliminated just 70% of those purchases, you'd save $6,300 a year. Invest that $6,300 every year for 30 years at 8% return, and you've got $713,000. That's $750,000 from just waiting 3 days before clicking buy. Look, I'm not saying never treat yourself. I'm saying make sure the treats are actually things you value, not just things you wanted for 45 seconds because you were bored on your phone. Rule number 4. Optimize for hourly value, not annual salary. Okay, here's something that most people get completely backwards. They obsess over their salary, but completely ignore their hourly value. Let me explain what I mean. Let's say you have 2 job offers. Job A pays $90,000 and requires 50 hours a week. Job B pays $80,000 and requires 40 hours a week. Most people take Job A because $90,000 is more than $80,000, right? But let's do the math. Job A, $90,000 divided by 2,600 hours per year is $34.62 per hour. Job B, $80,000 divided by 2,080 hours per year is $38.46 per hour. Job B pays you more per hour even though it pays less annually. And here's the kicker. You also get 10 hours a week back. That's 520 hours per year. What could you do with 520 extra hours? You could start a side business. You could learn a new skill. You could spend time with your family. You could sleep. All of those things have value, sometimes massive value. According to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average person who starts a side business while working full-time earns about $12,000 per year from it within the first 2 years. So if you took job B, you'd make $10,000 less, but you'd have the time to potentially make $12,000 on the side. Plus, you'd be making more per hour, plus you'd be less burned out. This is where it gets really interesting. Career earnings aren't just about your salary, they're about your sustainability. People who work 60-hour weeks burn out faster, switch jobs more often, and plateau earlier in their careers. People who maintain better work-life balance tend to have longer, more lucrative careers. The rule is simple. When evaluating job opportunities, calculate your hourly rate and seriously consider whether a higher salary is worth it if it comes with significantly more hours. Sometimes it is, but often it's not. Rule number 5, the 50-30-20 rule is backwards for wealth building. Okay, you've probably heard of the 50-30-20 rule, right? 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% to wants, 20% to savings. It's like the most famous budgeting framework in personal finance. Here's my problem with it. It's designed for financial stability, not wealth building, and those are two different things. If your goal is to not be broke, 50-30-20 works fine. But if your goal is to actually build wealth, to retire early, to have options in life, you need to flip it. Here's what I mean. The 20% savings rate assumed by 50-30-20 is okay. According to Fidelity, if you save 15 to 20% of your income starting in your 20s, you'll probably be able to retire comfortably in your 60s. Comfortably in your 60s. But what if you want better than comfortable? What if you want to retire at 50, or have the financial freedom to take a year off and travel, or quit a job you hate without panicking about money? Then you need to save 30 to 50% of your income, especially in your 20s and 30s. Now, I know what you're thinking. Zach, that's impossible. I can barely save 20%. And look, I get it. But here's the thing. It's less about cutting your spending to the bone and more about increasing your income and being strategic about your fixed costs. The biggest expenses in most people's lives are housing, transportation, and food. If you can keep those 3 categories below 50% of your take-home pay combined, suddenly saving 30 to 40% becomes realistic. Let me give you an example. Let's say you make $70,000 a year, which is about $4,700 a month after taxes. If you spend $1,800 on rent, $500 on your car, and $600 on food, that's $2,900, about 62% of your income. You're not saving 30%. But if you spend $1,200 on rent, $300 on transportation, maybe you drive a used car, and $500 on food, that's $2,000, about 43% of your income. Now you can save 35% and still have money left over for everything else. Is this fun? No. Does it require sacrifice? Absolutely. But here's the math. If you save 35% of a $70,000 salary for 20 years and invest it at 8%, you'll have $1.1 million. If you save 20%, you'll have $640,000. That's a $460,000 difference from just adjusting your savings rate. The rule is simple. Treat the 50-30-20 framework as the baseline for financial stability, but aim for 50-20-30 or even 45-15-40 if you're serious about building wealth quickly. Rule number 6. Every dollar has a second-order effect. All right, this one's a bit more abstract, but stay with me because it's incredibly powerful. Most people think about money in terms of first-order effects. I spent $50 on dinner, so now I have $50 less. That's true, but it's incomplete. Every dollar you spend or save has a second-order effect. That $50 you spent on dinner isn't just $50. It's also the future value of $50 if you had invested it instead. Let me show you what I mean. If you're 25 years old and you spend $50 on dinner, that's not just $50. That's $50 that could have grown to $1,067 by the time you're 65.
Assuming an 8% annual return, that's the second-order effect. Every purchase you make is also a choice to not invest that money. Now, does this mean you should never spend money and just hoard it all for retirement? No, that's miserable. But it does mean you should be aware of what you're actually giving up. Here's a framework I use. For any non-essential purchase, I ask myself, is this worth X times the price to me 40 years from now? If I'm buying a $2,000 watch, I'm not just asking, is this watch worth $2,000? I'm asking, is this watch worth $42,000 to me in 40 years? Because that's the second-order effect. Sometimes the answer is yes. If it's something that genuinely brings me joy or saves me time or improves my health, then yeah, it's worth it. But most of the time, the answer is no. According to a study from Ohio State University, people who practice second-order thinking with their finances, meaning they consider the long-term consequences of their spending, accumulate about 40% more wealth over their lifetimes than people who don't. The rule here, before making any significant purchase, calculate the second-order effect. Ask yourself what that money could become if you invested it instead. Then, make an informed decision. Rule number 7. Automate everything, trust nothing. Okay, last rule, and this is the one that ties everything together. Automate your finances and don't trust yourself to do the right thing manually. Here's the reality. Willpower is a finite resource. Study after study in behavioral psychology shows that the more decisions you have to make in a day, the worse your decisions become. It's called decision fatigue. So if your financial success depends on you manually transferring money to savings every month, or manually contributing to your 401k, or manually paying your credit card bill on time, you're going to fail. Not because you're lazy or undisciplined, but because you're human. The solution? Automate literally everything. Here's what I mean. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account the day after you get paid. Max out your 401k contributions through payroll deduction. Set up automatic payments for all your bills. Use automatic investing for your brokerage account. The goal is to remove yourself from the equation entirely. You should never have to decide to save money. It should just happen. There's this famous study from Richard Thaler, who won a Nobel Prize for his work in behavioral economics, that found that people who automate their retirement savings contribute about 50% more over their lifetimes than people who manually contribute. 50% just from automation. And here's the beautiful part. Once it's automated, you adjust your lifestyle around what's left over. If your paycheck is $5,000, but $1,500 automatically goes to savings and retirement, you start living on $3,500. It doesn't feel like sacrifice because you never see the money in the first place. This is called paying yourself first, and it's probably the single most powerful personal finance strategy that exists. The rule is simple. Spend one afternoon setting up automation for every aspect of your finances, then never think about it again. Look, here's the thing about building wealth. It's not about being smarter than everyone else or making a six-figure salary or getting lucky with some investment. It's about understanding the quiet rules that actually move the needle, and then having the discipline to follow them for decades. Most people never build wealth because they're focused on the wrong things. They're optimizing their $5 coffee instead of their $2,000 rent. They're chasing salary increases while ignoring hourly value. They're making financial decisions based on emotion instead of math. But if you can internalize these 7 rules, if you can focus on getting to $100,000, avoid lifestyle creep, implement the 72-hour rule, optimize for hourly value, save aggressively, think in second-order effects, and automate everything, you will build wealth. Not might, will. It won't happen overnight. It won't be exciting. But in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you'll wake up and realize you're in a completely different financial position than everyone else who started where you did. So that's it. 7 rules that quietly build wealth over time. If this was helpful, make sure you're subscribed to the channel because I make videos like this every week breaking down the financial strategies that actually work. And hey, leave a comment and let me know which of these rules you're going to implement first. I read every single comment, and I'm genuinely curious what resonates with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.